we're live again. But we're missing the parent. We're missing the guy that keeps everything in line.
We passed away.
Yeah. I was just telling Herman before this started that Josh's job is hard. I always give him a lot of credit for being the producer of the show. He books everybody and takes care of all the promotional stuff, and I'm really, really bad at it, guys. So, Josh, you're missed. You're missed already. While he's being a stud out there at WAF.
Yeah, good luck to him.
Yeah, for sure. I think, especially in that Masters class, man, you just don't. He's a good Masters puller. I mean, he's solidly built. He's as big as he's ever been. He cut down from 212 to make 98s this time. That's as big as I've ever heard. As big as I've ever heard of him being. So he's always been.
I don't know much about him. I've never seen him. I've never seen much video.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. If there was a lot of video of him on Arm TV or anything like that, but I don't remember seeing much.
Yeah, he's very long arm and very big hand. He's very uncomfortable, and he's pretty relentless on the setup too. Like he's gonna get what he wants, like one way or another. Yeah, he's difficult. So, yeah, I could definitely see him giving people trouble. He's also one of the rare guys in arm wrestling and probably most sports where he's really, really attacked his weakness. Like he was very vulnerable to the hook for a long time, and he made like a real effort over a couple of years to improve it, and actually did so. So he's one of those guys too, where he's pretty versatile, got good endurance. I really hope he does well out there and makes some waves for sure.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully they put some videos on Facebook.
Yeah, and I know Josh is pretty good about getting stuff filmed, so hopefully he films it and so we can put it up on our site and get that experience a little bit. Just because I think with everybody's been saying it, and I do kind of believe it, that the world's experience, I'm not sure if there is anything like that or if there's going to be anything like that even in the near future.
Yeah.
With just that many countries, that much representation, it's a big deal.
What is it, like 1,500 entries?
Yeah, something crazy like that. I want to say there's 74 countries.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's world right there, And, none of us really get that chance on the, regularly anyway. It's once a year and most of us can't make it. So I'm going to look forward very much to his report card when he comes back to see how it was and everything, So, Herman, what's going on, man?
Training.
That's what I like to hear.
And training.
Anything in particular?
No one in particular.
Yeah. Before we went on, you were saying you were feeling some good aches and pains lately, some new growth.
Yeah. So things are pain. My neck's pain. My arms are in pain. I play guitar and my neck hurts from headbanging. I mean,
yeah, well,
my life's getting complicated.
I was actually just talking to somebody at work who used to be in bands and a metalhead, and he goes, "Man, the worst part of getting older is that headbanging gets harder."
Yeah.
Because I used to be able to do that shit all day long and it never even bothered me. Now it hurts.
I don't even do it much.
Yeah.
I just did it a little bit, but in conjunction with arm wrestling, I mean, these things don't mix.
Yeah, you were when I was out there in California for that tournament. You were telling me about some neck pain that you were having anyway, and I remember seeing you rub it a couple times. And any progress on that?
Yeah, I mean, generally I know what I have to do. I mean, I have to basically keep up a weekly massage therapy program, and it can't be just some average Joe Blow. So I have a particular therapist I like going to.
Uh-huh.
She's pretty good, and that usually keeps me in line. If I stop going, over time, my neck gets tighter, my range of motion in my neck decreases, and eventually I watch my left arm strength or nervous function decrease. At times, I'll feel normal, go to the gym or go to my workout room, and my left arm will be half the strength of my right arm.
That's right? Insane.
Yeah, and I mean, now that I know what I need to do and I know that there's a problem, it explains some of my hit and miss performance, left-handed. So it's no big deal now. I know what I need to do.
Right. It's not so scary.
As close to 100% as possible when I show up.
Uh-huh. Yeah, because that's got to be a scary feeling. I mean, I think we've all had injuries and stuff where I think we were kind of, I've always had injuries over the years but I was very aware of what they were. You know what I mean? Like they weren't mysteries. But when that kind of thing happens where something's like rapidly declining or, you're having serious issues like that. It must be kind of a frightening thing at first when you're not really sure exactly what's going on.
Yeah, and I mean, I have to know things, so it really bothers me when I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Especially when it's my body.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I don't know how you feel about the basic injuries and stuff where you do know what's going on, but what kind of difference was that concerning when you like say you hurt your wrist and it's a little banged up, but you know exactly why or when, or as opposed to something like that? What was the difference for you, and what did you do to try to find out exactly what's going on?
Well, I don't really go to the doctor. I've never been to a chiropractor, and I felt general tightness, right? So I tend to go to massage therapy, and when I got to a good therapist, and I felt the range of motion increases, I felt the strength come back. That was my solution.
Okay.
Right. It may just be a stopgap, right? I mean, it
Right.
seems I can't go much longer than probably a month without massage therapy and then developing problems. So it's probably not a real solution. So I think after this match with Todd Hutchings, that's my plan. Go see a doctor. I mean, just go get general stuff checked, right? And then probably go see a chiropractor or something like that afterwards.
Yeah, and it's only affecting the left side.
Yeah, yeah. No, my right's almost always on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the left side. And I talked to Christian Benny after the last PAL event he did, and he said it's probably maybe a nerve or something being squeezed or pinched.
Yeah, and it's so weird too with those kind of nerve issues to try to pinpoint on your own where exactly they're originating from. Because
Right.
oftentimes when they do find it, you're like, "Are you kidding me? It was coming from there,"
Yeah, and I don't know if it's the neck, upper back, or the arm, right? But I know I have neck problems in conjunction with the arm weakness.
Do you remember any specific time hurting your neck, or was it from the? I mean, I know we've discussed your background in some powerlifting. You think that had anything to do with it?
I bet it's just accumulated growth over time. Things grow, they constrict places. That's probably what it is. I don't know if it's muscular. I don't know if it's some bone spurs or whatever.
Yeah, probably.
I'm not an expert in any of that.
Yeah,
I would bet it's slow growth constricting something.
Yeah, something just random probably happening with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's scary. I've only had some nerve issues. I had it with my left arm on and off because but I know exactly where mine's from. Mine's from just a shoulder injury, and you and I were kind of talking about that in California too, where I'm for the first time in my career really considering getting it fixed because I'm not sure if I can really break past that plateau without it. And when you
Right. Yours is clearly an injury. I mean, you tore something, right?
Yeah, I have a torn labrum, and what you realize is like what I'm starting to realize even more so now is I can pull hard. Yes, I can train hard. But it's the smallest details that make the big difference now when it comes to that. So it's like, well, can I train, more efficiently with that fix? Can I do this? Can I do that? And of course, we all try to talk each other out or talk ourselves out of getting fixed up as an athlete because I have to stop training. I have to do this. I have to do that. But of course it would help. Like if your body works right, of course you're going to train better and you're going to train smarter and you're going to progress faster. But I remember having that conversation with you in California, and like it really hit me that day. Like, I think this might be the detail. And do you think if you were to get, find out really what's going on with your neck and all that, that it would really maybe even up your left and right, or do you think there's much of a difference there at all? Anyway.
No, I think as long as my sort of rehab stuff is 100%, there's really no difference. My hands have always been pretty even. I think generally my family's about as close to being ambidextrous as you can be.
Okay.
So no, there's really not much difference between my arms, assuming I'm healthy.
Right. Yeah. And what do you think? What's your excitement level here for this upcoming match with Todd?
I'm very excited.
Yeah.
Right. Get to pull the best guy in the world. Right. So I mean, you can't really ask for much more than that. And I get to do it. There's no contracts. Right. There's not much ego involved. I mean, basically, we're going to show up and we're going to arm wrestle.
Right. Yeah. Is there any betting going on? Any money going on? Or is there a weight cap? Or what's going on with that?
Okay, so there's here's the rundown. There's no weight limit. Todd and I are about the same height. We're generally about the same weight.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping he doesn't go and show up at 245 pounds or something like that. Although if he lets me know in advance, I can also show up at 245 pounds.
Yeah.
So no weight limit. WAL rules, right? So that's the WAL grip, the 3 files,
Okay.
right? My understanding it's going to be a standard table. We're going to pull 5 matches each hand, and we're pulling all the matches. Right?
Okay.
So Todd can beat me 5-0 right and 5-0 left. And there's $200 for each match.
Okay.
I
So
think that's the general summary.
And you guys are pulling left and right.
Left and right. And we're gonna you pull one hand, and then I guess a minute break or something. You pull left. You minute break, then you pull right, and we're gonna alternate back and forth.
Okay.
So I think it's a pretty interesting setup. Considering vendettas are six rounds, basically going to pull, double that. I mean, 10 matches.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a cool. That's a cool format, and do you have WL pads as well, or just it's a standard table? You said.
I think it's going to be a standard table.
Right.
That's what Bob Brown and I talked about. At this point, if you're using WAL rules, I'm not really going to worry about the table.
Right.
But I don't know if the people running the tournament are going to have WAL tables.
Yeah.
They're not like standard. Not everyone has one.
Correct. Yeah, and I mean, it'd be pretty simple to make the pads and stuff, but yeah, like you said, at that point, like you want to know the rules, you want to know what the goes are going to be like and all that stuff, but at that point, the table, would you be worried about it if you maybe knew that your opponent was going to manipulate that part of it, or no?
No. I mean, short of Todd's strength or, someone of Todd's strength level, the other stuff doesn't matter.
Uh-huh.
The manipulations don't matter. The rules really don't matter. If you're strong, you're strong. So, I mean, that's really all I can say about it.
Yeah, and you're just concerning yourself with the training and making sure you're ready.
Exactly.
I think that's the best thing you can do anyway. I think as long as as long as there's no big surprises in the rules, which it doesn't sound like there is, I think one thing that a lot of athletes miss out on is focusing on what they can actually change, not the things that they can't change. And
people mess that up in life.
Oh, yeah, of course. The things that you can change is you can change your effort that you put into it, and you can change the, how specific you're going to be and how dedicated you're going to be to this goal, whatever it is that you have.
Correct. And Todd's king, so Todd dictates the rules.
Right. He's the guy who's getting nipped at, and you're the guy chasing him. So he's got this big fat library of things that you have ideas about, and a lot of footage and a lot of this and a lot of that. And, not that we don't know how you arm wrestle, but I would hope anyway. And if you're not and he's more hungry than you, then good on him. But it's always easier to be hungry when you're the guy chasing that thing, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have no shortage of motivation. No shortage of drive. The only thing that limits my training is my ability to recover. So, and to be honest with you, I think we set this match up maybe 2 months out from the actual date, maybe a little more.
Okay.
You're not gonna build a whole lot in 2 months.
Right.
Yeah, you can sharpen some things up. You may be able to expand a few things, get a little bit stronger. But when the match was set up, right, basically what I had that day or what Todd had that day is kind of what we're going to show up with,
Yeah.
So, the work has been done over the last 6 years.
Correct.
I just need to make sure I show up at 100%.
Yeah, you got some tools built already. You just got to try to sharpen them a bit. And you really I think we all kind of know after enough experience, you just try to show up and just feel good. Like, I don't want to feel dinged up. I don't want to feel unprepared. I want if anything, you just want your brain to feel good, saying, "Yep, I'm definitely ready. I put in all the hours I could, did everything as smart as I could."
Correct. And then the Bakersfield tournament was a huge success and a lessons learned for me because, I was training for Hermes before that tournament. And right around the time they canceled the Hermes match, or it fell through, I was sort of crashing from my training protocol. And so the 3 weeks before the Bakersfield tournament, I basically backed off. I was laying down in the dark, every day. Seriously,
Yeah.
completely burnt. But I actually had like a solid 3 weeks of rest. And I showed up pretty good. I wasn't sluggish. I wasn't dull. I showed up. I was sharp. My speed was there. My strength was there. So sort of my concerns about resting are kind of gone now, right? So I've kind of planned in 3 weeks of rest before the Todd match again.
Mm-hmm. And is that rest like complete rest, or is it, just a steep decline in workload?
Ideally, that's what it would be. It'd be a drop in workload, right? Maybe increasing the intensity or managing intensity, but trying to work on more explosiveness or some of the small things, like certain angles that, maybe more like fine movements.
Mm-hmm.
But prior to Bakersfield, like I said, I just crashed. So, a lot of it was just laying in bed, for 12 hours a day or something like that.
Yeah, I remember we were talking a bit about that, and you said you crashed pretty hard after that training. What about it do you think made you crash so hard? Was it just the pure volume of it? Was it disappointment and with it not coming through, or?
Oh no, it's the workload, it's the diet, right? So I wasn't losing a lot of weight, getting down to 220 for Hermes at the time, but I wasn't eating a surplus of calories. Right?
Okay, yeah.
Now I'm doing a higher workload than I've ever done. Well, excluding powerlifting stuff, but from a pure arm wrestling standpoint, the highest workload I've ever done, right? Kind of out of fear, because that was a pretty huge match, and in particular, Hermes is scary for me because of its top roll.
Sure.
So yeah, just the sheer volume, and the under eating, I guess that'll put you under.
Yeah, there's nothing. I don't know about you, but with me personally, there's nothing better than that feeling of just training as hard as I possibly can, and knowing I can just eat as much as I want to, like that combination. Like,
oh yeah.
And I don't even know if half of it's mental. Some of it might just be the mentality of like, I know I can feed myself exactly what I need, or even and then some if I really need to, because there's nothing really on the horizon I need to make a certain weight for or anything, and there's nothing better than that feeling of like, okay, yeah, I can definitely keep pushing it because I can keep pushing how much I'm in, my intake too.
Correct. And then my thing is that, if I was 195 pounds, then yeah, I could keep eating because I'm okay with getting to 220 and cutting to 195. But when you're already 220, you keep eating, you'll just slowly eat yourself out of your career. I'll be a pretty strong guy, but I'll be, bottom of the supers, like 60th in North America or something.
And do you, if you're looking to continue working hard, which it seems like just from talking to you numerous times here that never seems to be a question when it comes to your program, and you're trying to also lose weight at the same time, is there anything that you found that works best for staying injury free and keeping your performance up?
I guess, I tend to take a high frequency approach, right? So I probably, you won't see me doing 110% max holds or any of that kind of stuff. At the same time, you might not see me doing some of the 2 and 3 hour marathon sessions some guys do.
Uh-huh.
So, I kind of keep myself within a well-controlled box, right? And I think that kind of keeps me injury-free, especially when I'm cutting weight and stuff like that.
Yeah, because that's a difficult thing if you're a guy who really likes to keep pushing hard and you're also trying to cut. The energy levels and all that stuff, I think, from someone else who trains very hard, it's not that hard to continue to really force yourself to keep training. I think that part's kind of easy. You're going to do it or you're not. But the thing that is difficult is the thing that can kind of creep up on you without you really knowing it is the injury part.
Correct.
Just not like, I didn't even realize I wasn't healing up enough because.
Yeah, and I mean, and I don't know if I do anything special, unique, or revolutionary. I don't know. Maybe I'm lucky. Maybe I'm just built well. I think I've told people my greatest gift may be ruggedness. I mean, I've been pretty injury free, and that's even with some of the hard pulling and stuff like that. So
sure. Yeah, I think genetics definitely does have something to do with that. I don't know if it's mental too. Maybe there's a lack of fear of injury. I don't know if you have that, where I don't really concern myself too often with thinking about injury. I kind of think sometimes if you really start thinking too much about it, it's probably something that's going to happen. I don't know if maybe it's for some hesitation with certain movements or certain moves or in certain situations that I think that hesitation sometimes can get you injured. Whereas if you're just focused on doing the things the right way, you probably won't.
I don't worry about injury, but I also don't do things that worry me about injury. There's something, I think it's a little kind of a shaky movement. I'm not so sure about it. I just won't do it. And I mean, I've gotten by, not really following some of the general conventions. I mean, you won't see me holding a 150-pound dumbbell stretched out over a preacher bench.
Yeah.
I've done the 5-hour practices, but I don't feel obligated to do 5-hour practices.
Right.
I don't really pull in bad positions. I don't try to win at practice, which is how people end up pulling in bad positions, So I think it's just fairly simple stuff.
Yeah, I think most of the time all these things get kind of overthought, and like the old thinking of, if it's really simple, then it's probably not good enough. I think really what usually happens is it starts off simple, goes very complicated, and then we come back around to the basics. And I think people kind of lose sight of the basics sometimes and getting caught up with a lot of the complicated stuff. And they kind of just forget just how to simply work hard and how to just maintain like a simple program of just basic strength.
Correct. I think if you just did one movement, let's say you had a cable machine at the gym and you had a D-ring handle or whatever they call it, and you just did this, right? You do that one movement, and let's say you move a legit 300 pounds, not the cable machine 300 pounds. That's
now I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah, I mean, not the inflated numbers that everyone else uses. But if you moved a legit 300 pounds in that one movement, I don't think it really matters what your pronation is, your supination is, your up pressure. That's a lot of weight.
Yeah.
You're going to be probably the strongest guy in the room. So, I mean, that's a bit extreme. But if you only did one movement and you moved that much damn weight, you're probably going to be hard to beat.
Yeah.
So that means you probably don't need, 50 exercises. You probably don't need, 50 exercises just for your hand. You probably don't need 35 handles.
Probably. Yeah, I really as the years have gone by, my training is really, in most parts, really come down to 4-5 basic movements. Whether even including recovery and strength training, it's really, it's become very simple.
Yeah, you got some up, some side, some back, some wrist, some pronation. That's 5.
Yes, it's the basics.
You can modify them. You can do them slightly different, but in the end, it's the same thing.
Yeah, and once you know how to use them,
correct.
What else? Yeah, what else do you need? I mean, everybody has their little differences here and there, whether they train for, some endurance training or just straight statics or rep schemes or whatever, and that's where everybody's kind of personal taste takes over, or however they're built. But sometimes you just don't need anything other than just to get stronger at the basics, and actually learn how to arm wrestle.
All that time you spend, asking people the same question over and over again and not listening. Asking multiple elite arm wrestlers the same questions over and over again, and then not listening to any of their advice. Mm-hmm. Just go to the gym. Quit wasting people's time. Quit talking.
Yeah, and really, the thing I see oftentimes is these elite arm wrestlers who get asked these questions over and over again, we give the same answers. There really is, just do these basics, weed out what you don't like, add in what you do like, and just do that for years on end. Really. And
Right. I think some of these people just like to talk.
yeah,
I don't know. Some of these people don't actually do anything. They just talk a lot.
there is a lot of that.
And the worst one is the nutrition questions.
Right.
It's like, stop fucking eating. Stop going to Burger King. Stop going to McDonald's.
Mm-hmm.
You see the person and they gain like another 100 pounds. It's like, quit wasting my damn time.
Right. Yeah, I just had this conversation with I just trained before the show, and is a newer guy on our team, and I was explaining like the value of teammates on a team, and really when it comes down to like, we were talking about people showing up and not showing up for practice. The fact is, if you don't want to show up for practice, then I really don't give a fuck about you not showing up for practice. If you don't care about your training, then I sure as don't care about it. It's after a while, we're all grown-ups.
Right. And the problem with the people that come and go is that they take time away from other people.
Right.
Right. So, I'll give you all the time in the world. My house is generally open. I have guys here sometimes 3, 4, 5 days a week. I like to be in bed early, but if you need to come late, we can probably train late. But if you're going to come and go, or you're going to take time from another teammate, and not utilize the coaching, or you're just going to sit at home, you're wasting my time. You're taking resources away from other people that could use it. You're just wasting space, right? So you kind of need to just commit, or show up when you want, but don't expect me to spend any time with you.
Yeah,
I'll let one of the amateurs coach you.
Yeah, it is just it's just a grown up point of view. Why would I? If it's a pretty simple thing. For the most part, people show up once a week to pull. If you're not going to commit to that, fine, but I don't want to hear it. It's just very simple, but for some reason...
Yeah, don't come crying about losing at the tournament.
Right. Exactly.
Don't ask me what you can do better, because it's pretty obvious what you can do better. You can show up practice.
Yeah.
You can shut up.
Yeah, and there's always a place to go, so... what's the excuse here?
People are crazy.
That's the best quote you've ever said on this show, Herman. People are crazy.
People are crazy.
And looks like Leo Lenderos says that Herman's best advice to me was be consistent. It's the truth.
There you go.
Consistency is the real performance-enhancing drug, people. Hate to break it to you, but it really is.
I don't know. Hey, so let's put it this way. Consistency may be a great performance-enhancing drug, but man, if I could put some Turinabol on top of that, then, now we're talking. We're cooking with gas.
Yeah, and that's what, really, like if we want to go down that route.
Let's go. We're going to make the downward spiral.
Might as well. That's the difference too. Like, you got a lot of guys who do use those performance enhancers, and they think that they can get to the top with half the amount of work because they're taking steroids. And
that's just I think we talked about this last time. That's just the wrong way, right? I want to do all the work I do now and double it.
Right.
If I'm on drugs, right? Why would I take this, say, oh, well, I'll just be mediocre, but I won't have to work for it. Yeah. How dumb is that?
It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's like, I love hearing when, because I do hear it sometimes, where somebody will be talking about this new supplement that they took or whatever, and they're like, yeah, man, I just feel so much more recovered. I feel way better with the same program I was using before, like the same amount of work I was doing before. And I'm like,
oh, shit.
Then why are you doing the same amount of work?
Yeah.
If you feel good, you should be able to do, 150% more?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy how good some of those drugs are. It's like, what is it? What did Captain America have? The Super Soldier Serum?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you can be Captain America, but these people are just shit.
Yeah, it's kind of insane to me, and it just mathematically doesn't even make sense. You know what I mean? Like, if I can have 7 super hard training sessions, and then if I can take this thing, I can have 12, but I'd rather just feel better doing 7. Like, I can just keep doing 7 and just feel good now. Like, I don't really want to feel bad. It's like, no, you should be up in the volume until you feel shitty again.
Yeah, are these millennials?
Probably.
Sadly, I think some of the older people are like that too. So I don't know what their problem is.
No, that's the truth. It's just, it's and however you want to take it, like whether it's a positive or negative, for like for the competition, it's terrible. Because like if everybody had like that killer instinct of like wanting to train to death all the time, like just build, we'd have this incredible roster of insane talent.
Correct.
Which
well, would it be talent at that point, or would it just be the drugs?
Well, yeah, I'm not even talking about needing necessarily drugs. I'm just talking about
Oh yeah, no, that'd be amazing. I mean, if we had a large pool of like serious athletes, right? I'd probably have a clone of myself here in Bakersfield, right? Now imagine how good I would be if I had a copy of myself to practice with.
Right.
I mean, the level would go up exponentially, if you had a ton of serious athletes.
Yeah, which is really the importance of like having teammates be consistent. Going back to that point, it's like, dude, if you get better, I get better. It's a selfish thing too. Like I am helping build you, but you're helping build me. That guy right there is my hook machine. That guy's my top roll machine. That guy's my, that's why that's important, because somehow we got to keep pushing this ball forward in every direction, whether it's strength, technique, all that stuff. And it's going to take another set of hands to do that. So if you stop showing up, you're taking away my training tools. I don't think a lot of guys think that way.
And then at a certain point, I mean, once you get like so strong, there's only like so many of those guys, I mean, LA, you got Vosgen, right? I'm in Bakersfield. Tom's in, Sacramento. Luke's in Napa. I mean, you only have so many of these guys,
Yeah.
I mean, you have some clubs, I guess, that are kind of stacked. They have, more than one national or world level guy, but I mean, those are so few.
Yeah, and I'm like, with the dungeon, we used to build training tools to help Timmy. We used to get that big belt that would wrap around the upper arm and the forearm, so we could, really give him some hard work. We had to build shit to make it so we could train him. I mean, and this really is a good, point to make too. Like Tim could have gone to a practice every week for a year and never lost a match if he felt like it. But he came every week and got his ass kicked. Because, he knows the importance of hard work, and he knows the importance of continuing to try to build something, because there's always guys chasing you. And there's always that group of elites that are always trying to do that too. So, he could have just gone to practice for, a couple hours every week and just smashed everybody. Not ever truly tried to work and tighten up those holes in his game.
Yeah, well, that's why he's Tim Bresnan.
Right.
And not just the, that local state champ guy who just kind of creams all the amateurs.
Yeah, and it's like, it's a really, like, in life, it's just a small detail of doing it or not. Do I keep pushing myself, or do I just kind of coast and let myself feel good about it?
It's crazy how people will actually stop coming to practice because they can't win matches.
Yeah, it's insane, right?
It's ridiculous.
It's like, what kind of sparring? This is sparring. You're supposed to take losses or quote unquote, look stupid doing new things on the training table, so you don't look that way when you compete.
Correct. And I mean, you're supposed to have those hard matches too. So you know how to lose, you know how to come back, you know how to overcome adversity.
Right.
You're fatigued and tired, and you have to come back and pull again. But some of these guys are just kind of, front runners.
Yeah, it's really
they're okay with just creaming people, at the, I don't know, some, small practice in Bakersfield when Herman's on vacation.
Oh, okay. It must be a specific thing, huh?
No, not really. But I mean, those people exist.
Of course they do. Yeah, and it's really too bad, that. I mean, I guess it's, it's whatever you want out of the sport. I guess it's the same thing with life in general. But, do you want to be the best, or do you want to be like the best in your house?
Correct.
Some people are really cool at being.
And I think that's another hard thing. It's like, okay, maybe you just want to be the best that you can be.
Yep.
Which is my approach. I've never set any targets for myself other than being the best that I can be. I think that's how a lot of people should look at it. I mean, that'll drive everything from there.
Yeah, because if you think that way, honestly, it never stops. Like the whole, getting better. Correct. There is no ceiling to it, because you can get better in a zillion different ways, and there's no other template for it.
Yeah, I mean, I could have said, "Oh, I want to be a state champion," and then maybe I would have hit that and quit.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. Plus, you never know. You really never know what's coming. So there could be some new title 10 years from now that, you know, if you were to stop at state title or even if you were to stop at, like, say, world champ, well, what if 10 years from now there's something that's even cooler to you and you would have stopped?
Yeah, WAL's still around, and the payouts are $200,000 for first place.
Yeah, or Nike's giving people $2 million contracts to wear Arm Warmers.
There you go.
That's where it's at. We need to start getting companies like that in there if they're going to do those kind of things.
Yeah, I'd be the worst guy because I don't want to wear an arm warmer.
Yeah, you'd be on the commercials. This is stupid.
Yeah, I could be
do
sponsored by
anything.
Hanes.
Yeah.
Plain shirts.
Yeah.
Plain shirts.
What kind of shirt is that? Black shirt.
There you go. Hanes.
I don't know if you can see it, but I got my True Grit shirt on.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Represent the team.
I feel a lot stronger today.
It'll do
I
it.
just felt stronger all day,
I pre-wore that one.
Really? It feels a little stretched out.
Yeah, that's where the strength's coming from.
Oh, okay, cool. I like that. Yeah. Eric sent it to me. Very appreciative of that. I felt like I was an honorary team member when I came out to California.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have a pretty good, welcoming group of guys.
Very good.
We have a good time.
Yeah, I was very, very impressed because, like you had told me, that it's a lot of, newer guys who are just, climbing up. And I was very impressed with how good of a team you guys were just to each other. And those guys really pull hard and they pull well.
Yeah, no, I think we have decent practices. I mean, we're all about coaching. Like I said, my house is always open. Like I said, we have a good time. I think I was telling a new guy, a really new guy the other day. I mean, I think a lot of the fun is the stories you get going to the tournaments and hanging out at the tournaments and hanging out at practice. I mean, arm wrestling almost becomes kind of secondary in a sense.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and even like, with the dungeon, traveling, just like getting on a plane and all flying somewhere together. Like those moments, like spending 5 days with these guys, just nothing but just ball busting, getting picked on, just and doing it back. Like there's just those kind of moments. Like, yeah, the arm wrestling's a part of that, but there's a really big part of this, like the camaraderie, and also just getting to see like certain guys I see once, maybe twice a year, and it's like I never didn't see them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's the camaraderie, it's the coaching, it's watching people improve, and I mean it's not even just almost their people's lives, I mean we help each other out. There are people that have different experiences than I do, and we talk to each other, we help each other, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and we're I enjoy the versatility of the sport. That there's so many different angles, so many avenues you can go. That I really enjoy. Like I enjoy getting stronger too. I don't think any arm wrestler on the planet or any strength athlete doesn't like that. That always feels good, but it really feels good to me. I love the technical angle of the sport where there's always somewhere to go. There's always something to get a little bit better at. That I came from a martial arts background when I was younger, and it feels very similar where you come up with like there's almost like belt levels in the sport, and because you can have somebody who's just like who can really overcome a lot of that with strength, which is kind of rare in our for our sport to have like a technical game like this that you can kind of bypass some of it if you are just plain strong enough.
Correct.
And the thing I really enjoy, because I'm not naturally a strong guy, I've gotten stronger over the years. I'm still getting stronger, but that's not where my natural talents are at all. Where my talents were was being able to grip up with somebody and feel certain angles and feel where the weaknesses were and just, developing that second nature of it. What has been your experience with as far as like trying to, develop technique, or was it something that really was a struggle for you, or was it something that came pretty easy?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think like when I started, I mean, I didn't have a lot of technique, had no hook. I was just kind of a strong-handed posting top roller. I guess over time it got better. I think my technique kind of took off when Craig came back.
Okay.
So that was probably in, I don't know, early or maybe mid 2011, end of 2011.
Okay.
I think I trained with Craig maybe 8 months. And yeah, yeah, my technique was pretty good then, and then we moved to Bakersfield, mostly hooked because I don't have anyone with like a solid hand. I can't really work on any top rolls here. Um, and and it was kind of funny. So I think 6 months after moving to Bakersfield, I went to Louisiana, visited Craig again, and I mean, it was probably I was at the practice for 2 hours.
Yep.
I said, Craig, I have a tournament coming up, which was the LA Fit Expo. I need some tips. And so he went over the setup again. He told me exactly how he did it. At this point, I'm a little stronger, so I can do some of the things he's talking about. And from there, I went to the LA Fit Expo. I got a win on Brian Brandon. 3 months later, I got wins on Jordan Seal, both hands. 3 months after that, got wins on Tom and Kenny. So, like locally, I mean, I think my technique kind of degrades over time, right? But it's little things like that, right? That one workout with Craig in December 2012
Okay.
kind of like sharpens me up.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can go on for a while before, maybe having to really pay attention again. And even recently, I was told that I need to go back to pulling how I was pulling in 2013. So I don't know. Maybe my technique is not as good now. I think lately I've gotten so strong that I just kind of rely on that.
Yeah, that's
if I look
definitely.
at, like 2015 video. I mean, it's basically me slamming people into a hook, and kind of clobbering them.
Right, just violence.
Which I never thought I would see that day, that I would be going into a hook with people intentionally.
Was that something that you just weren't comfortable with before, or was there a lack of power there? Or?
Oh, definitely a lack of power.
Yeah.
I mean, before arm wrestling, I did, I lifted weights in high school for football, right? Not a lot of curls, and then even before that, like 2009, 2010, I was starting, powerlifting with some friends, but I was a power lifter, right?
Sure.
You don't do curls.
Hell no.
So, I started out weak bicep, and then I was trained when I first started, Craig wasn't there. So it was me, Ray Hendricks, Cody Como, stuff like that, Ryan Timms. But mostly it was me and top rollers. So that's what I learned how to top roll.
Yep.
I don't even think we practiced hook at all. So that didn't really get developed until I moved to Bakersfield. And the team was mostly hookers.
Okay.
At the same time, they didn't really have hands to defend my top roll. So I wasn't getting anything going out there anyway.
Yeah.
Right. So sort of over the years, Eric Martinez and I kind of grown, so to speak, in the hook together. We were even when I started, and they were probably even, up until about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. And then, he's kind of been not as serious lately, but that's kind of how it progressed.
Yeah. And when you did it kind of help you with your understanding of how exactly to hook once you started really just hooking a lot and just figuring out exactly?
Oh
Yeah.
Angles. I found the technique in the hook. It wasn't.
Wait a minute. There's technique in a hook?
Yeah, it wasn't some completely brain dead, gorilla move. But I mean, even recently, I would say most of my technical advances are in the hook. Over the last 2 years, it's probably all hook from a technique standpoint.
I think it's
advances.
Yeah. I always think it's funny when people, and I do think it's an amateur way of thinking about this, is they really do view the hook as just nothing but power, nothing but it's just simple, and it's like, no, there's a lot that you can do in the hook as far as technique goes. It's crazy.
Correct. It's the same thing. All the angles that you can take outside, you can take them in the hook.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you do it right and you're really technically proficient in the hook, it can buy you a nice little way out the top roll as well. If you have to. Yeah. Hopefully if you get enough of a advantageous position in the hook, you probably hopefully wouldn't have to, but they do kind of, one will set up the other if you do it correctly. And one of my recent most favorite matches that I've watched a million times just because I think it's a great textbook example of how to defensively hook is when you pulled Tom Nelson at the 9/11 Classic.
Oh, okay, maybe.
Yeah, I think I mean, I don't think you really made any mistakes per se, but I do think on Tom's side, it was a real good example of defensively hooking and being really patient because he was dug under pretty bad.
Definitely. You know, I'm the kind of guy I want people to be aggressive, and Tom was the exact opposite. I mean, he just sat there and did absolutely nothing.
Yep.
And in the first start, he actually went for the pin, and he separated. We both separated.
Big time.
Right. And then, you know, I kind of crashed sideways, but I elbow fouled. You know, had he tried to pin me sooner than that, I was waiting on him to separate, you know, but he didn't.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, just a really great, just real good patience. What did you learn anything from that match looking back on it? Maybe even watching the video later on?
Yeah, I'm very, I have my own, you know, my own standards, my own textbooks, right? You know, I want to maintain my position, you know, and I think I was too conservative in maintaining my closed position on the pin that I left some horsepower on the table. You know, had I been willing to, you know, maybe let my angle break down a little bit and go kind of into the eccentric zone, right? I probably could have had another 5 or 10% needed to pin Tom, but you know, it is what it is. I mean, I tell people before, I don't have to win matches. You know what I mean? Again, the target is to get better, right? And so even losing that match, I've gotten better.
No, yeah, like I said, it's like that video is it's a nice little slow motion depiction of defense. You know what I mean? That can really build up a lot of a real great game plan on you building your offense off of that. And I will say, to your credit, before that tournament we were talking and you said, I really hope I get Tom early because I really just want to know.
Yeah, that was the whole. I mean, the money was good too, right? But that's what I wanted out of the tournament, was to pull Tom. It wasn't even to beat Tom. It wasn't even to have a tight match with Tom. It was just to see where I was, you know.
Yeah.
And it was even more critical considering the Todd match.
Oh, for sure.
I needed to see where I was against a, you know, super solid hooker like Tom.
Yeah, and again, those small details that you're going to learn from that match are huge results with somebody who will actually take it and apply it to their training and tightening up, and maybe even, like you said, rewriting your textbook a little bit to say, maybe I do need, if I leave this part out of it that I've always believed in there or I've always followed, I can, you know, apply extra 5%, which in this sport is ridiculous.
Correct. And I mean, I'm not talking about King's move or completely stretching out, but just being a little more flexible, right? Go for it. Yeah, none of that. Yeah. Maybe when I'm 50, when my elbows are all solid. But, yeah, no, I had a lot of fun that day.
Yeah, it was definitely fun watching.
I mean, and maybe it means that I might be able to go inside with Todd Hutchings, but I mean, I have no intentions of going inside with Todd Hutchings, you know.
Yeah, I think what's cool about two guys who really not only know the game pretty well, but know themselves pretty well, and I think you and Todd both fall into that, is that there's no real huge secrets as to what's going to happen. I think you're just going to bring what he's got, you're going to bring what you've got, and I think you're both bringing maybe what most athletes are lacking is a lot of confidence in that, you know, you're confident that you're going to bring everything you got. He is too. And I think it's going to be really fun to watch.
Yeah, I think currently Todd's going to win. It's 80% on the poles right-handed and maybe 60 or 70% left-handed. So we'll see.
Is that giving you some more fuel or what?
Oh, yeah, there's no shortage of fuel. All I have to do is open up Facebook. There's always someone saying something that's like, okay, I'm going to go train.
Or assemble the troll army, one or the other.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. There's always someone on Facebook just saying something.
And Philip's asking a question here. Is there any plans with still pulling Gasparini, and did you feel very ready for him?
The Gasparini match was postponed with no makeup date.
Okay.
I don't know any of the issues behind that. Right, Zlotty's next. I'm not going, but that's next for PAL. And then I would guess that, I think Kirill made some comments on Arm Wrestling Nation Radio that next year, I think, is when they're going to start back up on the Vendettas.
Okay.
Yeah. So, And then was I ready for Hermes? I don't know. I was more scared of Hermes than I am of Todd Hutchings.
Yeah.
Just because of the styles.
Right.
Yeah, at least with Todd, I think I'm going to keep my hand. Right. I'm not saying that's going to happen. If Todd gets in those straps, I mean, he kept Rob flat.
Right.
And turned Rob over. So Todd may do the same thing to me, but with Hermes, I mean, there's a shot that I would never have my hand.
Right.
They would go hand flopped to the pad. So.
Yeah, there's a whole different level. There's a whole different fear when you think that there's a good chance that somebody could take a lot away from you rather than coming at you. If somebody's going to come at me, then at least I have a toolbox ready. If somebody's going to take something away that I can't get back, that's hard to deal with.
Correct, and there's a lot of unknowns associated with the Europeans. I mean, we really have no one. Todd went right, and Todd, he beat the Zolowevs and all that stuff. But
yeah,
I mean, I've never seen Todd pull Hermes. And Devin thinks Hermes is the second coming. So, we don't know how strong he is.
Right. There's no real
at the same time, Rustem destroyed Hermes. I mean, it was just all arm. He just kind of like threw him to the side. So stuff like that makes me feel good. But if I was to go against him, but we just don't know. Whereas Todd, as good as Todd is, as great as Todd is, I think Rob kind of, I don't want to say took him down a notch, but he kind of made him human at least.
Yeah, anytime you can show somebody's, crack in their armor, right? I mean, the thing that's difficult about arm wrestling, as opposed to say like powerlifting or any kind of strength sport like that, is that 50 pounds is not 50 pounds in this game. If you can apply it perfectly, it can feel like a house is on you, and it's only 50 pounds. That perfect angle on the perfect part of your hand, it can feel like it's overwhelming. But if you put that 50 pounds on your bicep or just straight at you, you could laugh at it.
Correct.
So there's no real guideline. You can see this guy pull a zillion times, but you're like, yeah, but he's never pulled anybody that I've pulled, or that even anybody that I know that has pulled him. So there's absolutely no guideline. I can see why that's more frightening for sure. But
yeah.
you think, what do you think about Todd's endurance? Is that a concern to you, or?
Todd's strength is off the charts.
Right.
Todd's endurance is off the charts. I mean, he's like when you go play Madden or one of the, NFL PlayStation games, and there's like a guy who's like 99 across the board.
I was just gonna say player 99.
You're like, crap. The guy's stronger, faster, smarter, more endurance. Better, everything.
Is he gonna grow a mustache like yours though?
I don't know. He's done it. He's
I know.
He's closely worn a mustache, right? So I'm hoping he doesn't, so I could at least have some kind of advantage going in.
Right. That's what I was figuring too.
Yeah.
Is this happening in Utah?
This is going to be in Salt Lake City, Utah, and Todd's he's good across the board. I mean,
Yeah.
It's just really, he really doesn't really. I mean, you can say his hand is his weakness, but I mean, even his hand's strong. I mean, who else top rolled him? Rob. Yeah. I mean, that's the only. I mean, so.
Right.
He's awesome, right? And not only that, not only am I going against Todd, but it's like it's you have to beat him 3 times each arm as opposed to like 2 times each arm. If it was best of 3 or something like that. So I mean, we're going at it across the board. I mean, the strength angle, the endurance angle, going back and forth between hands, the mental angle. I mean, you'll have to make switches or technical changes on the right arm and then the left, and then keep them all straight in your head 3, 4, 5 rounds into it. So it's, I definitely didn't make it easy.
No, but when I was talking to you about it previously, it's funny because, you're not a super expressive guy. You like to talk about things pretty factually and all that. But whenever you started talking about Todd, you could just see it in your face that you're like, yeah, this is going to be a hell of a mountain, and it's going to be really fun to try to climb it.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. If you're a a 195, 205-ish guy, I mean, Todd's the man, right? And I mean, if you're not trying to beat him, I don't know what you're trying to do.
Right.
So, I mean, the last 6.5 years of arm wrestling have been to beat Todd.
Yeah, I just think it's a great point of view in a sport where I think we're kind of losing some of that, where some guys don't like to come out because they have the chance of losing, and it might ruin their mystique or whatever. And I think on both your ends, I think it's fantastic because Todd's got I don't want to say he's got a lot to lose, but
but he could stay home. He could stay home and still be Todd Hutchings.
Exactly right. He could rest on his hammers. Really,
He probably does sleep on his hammers.
Probably. It's probably true. Well, I saw that video with that his wife posted where he was walking on them, which was pretty,
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
It's good training.
Another thing guys don't do, they're not only do people they don't want to go out because they don't want to lose, they also don't want to like give people like their due respect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't mind saying it. Todd Hutchings is a bad dude. You know what I mean? If there was my Michael Jordan in arm wrestling, it's Todd Hutchings.
Yeah. Yeah, and when you talk about that kind of point of view too, that makes me train harder if I think my opponent is the man, like I have a lot of respect for that guy, it makes me train harder. I don't want to train for some guy I think I'm just going to smash or that I don't have any respect for. It doesn't that kind of thing doesn't really fuel me. Like you can always train with anger, I guess, but I'm not really sure if that's if anger causes the same amount of fear that respect does.
Yeah. Todd's a bad dude. I mean, he's kind of set the blueprint for what you need to do to be the best in the world, right? So, I mean, if you don't like that, you don't respect it, I mean, you're really missing out, on like I said, on the blueprint,
Yeah, I think
I don't know everything Todd does, but I know a lot of what I do is, if not based on what Todd does, it's confirmed by what Todd does,
Right.
Like I was doing stuff, then I talked to him, and I was like, okay, well, we're kind of doing the same thing. So that kind of validated, my training basis.
Right. Yeah, having him on the show.
I know I'm on the right track.
Oh, yeah. And like when we had him on the show and we talked about, how this overtraining thing is kind of, what is perceived in the, the general consensus of overtraining, how crazy that is. Like his face, he was like a kid. He lit up. He's like, dude, you have no idea how many times I've had this conversation. And I think you're right. And I think, that kind of, like, you can't really, like, teach or train that kind of enjoyment in just the process of getting stronger. Like,
correct.
That's just something that you're born with when it comes to, like, having that kind of pride and hard work. And to see, like, this guy's at the highest level, and he still has that instant joy and excitement when talking about getting stronger.
Well, yeah, and then think about setting the example. What if he would have come on and said, you can only train 3 days a week or you'll get burnt out? I mean, what am I supposed to do then? 3 days a week, as Todd Hutchings says. No, Todd says you can train all the time, every time, and you're a punk or a pussy if you can't handle it.
Right. I mean, and I think that's something that, and no offense to him, obviously, because he's the best that's ever lived, but John Brzenk went through and told everybody, hey, I train once a week and I do moderate gym time during the off time in the week. And then everybody went, oh, I'll just do that then. And
yeah. See, okay, so with the other, like some of the other elites, you have to ask them, what did they do?
Correct.
Not what do you do?
Uh-huh.
Devin says, don't push side pressure too much. He said he's hurt himself or whatever back in the day. But Devin used to do side pressure at some point.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm sure that stayed with him.
Yeah.
That
helped build his foundation.
Yeah. And so I do side pressure whether Devin recommends it or not.
Yeah.
Well, it's all about what they did
to
get there. And I mean, maybe you don't do the exact same thing because, there are lessons learned.
Yep.
Maybe the way Devin did side pressure may not be optimal, but I don't like to follow people's current plans. Except for Todd, because Todd probably hasn't trained much. If anything, his training's probably become more intense over the years.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. And, I think people have to really ask themselves also, like, okay, you're going to train like John Brzenk does now, or did at that time when he was telling people, once a week, moderate gym time. What the fuck makes you think you're genetically anything like John Brzenk?
Well, you hear Todd Hutchings said in every interview, he had to find a way to catch John Brzenk.
Right.
Right? So that's why he has to train the way he does. He's not trying to train like a 55-year-old John Brzenk with two messed up shoulders or whatever it is,
Yeah. And also, like Devin, Devin doesn't do side pressure because he gets injured. Well, it could have something to do with the way he's built. His arm is very long. If you're focusing on side pressure from a certain angle that's, dangerous to your joints, of course you're going to blow out your elbow. Of course if I have a real short arm and a smaller hand, you can probably train side pressure just from a leverage point a little safer than the guy with the 24-inch arm or something like that.
Yeah.
So there is things like that too, where it's like, well, what makes you think by your build and everything that you're like certain people? Like, if you're built exactly like that dude, go ahead and try what he does. But I guarantee you're throwing out a large percentage of it because it just doesn't work for you.
Correct. And I mean, even like the recovery and stuff like that, I mean, you might be able to train the movement, but maybe you can't do it the way Todd does it, right? So although I train side pressure a lot, I probably don't do it the way Todd does it.
Right.
Right. So, I mean, we have different recovery levels. Again, like you said, well, our builds are similar, right? Maybe his attachments are different, whatever, right? But you can definitely train.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's what it boils down to.
Yeah, and really just have the confidence in yourself to say, if I do this thing and I feel stronger doing it, I don't give a fuck if nobody else does it. And in fact, even better if nobody else does it. And I think a lot of athletes maybe don't have that confidence in the first few years at least, because they're like, well, no, the best on the planet don't do this. But, well, does it make you feel stronger, though? Are you getting chartable gains by doing this?
Correct. That's a human thing. I mean, most people won't jump out on the limb, period. I mean, then all the risk is in your hands.
Right.
So if you go and you try to do your own thing training-wise, and it doesn't work, then it's all your fault. Right? People don't like that.
Yeah, which is strange because, I don't know about your opinion on it, but my opinion, that if all I can do is look to myself for the issue, then at least I know exactly where to look, and it's a little easier to, correct it.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably a little more self-aware, and you take ownership of your actions as opposed to the average person.
Perfect.
Everyone else, I mean, kick the bucket, kick it on or pass the blame to someone else. I mean, that's the average. That's the typical.
Yeah. And when it comes to a sport where there's two guys, that's rough on the ego.
And it's kind of only you. I mean, there's a great James Rederides highlight video on Peter Milano's YouTube channel, and at the end of it, there's an interview with James, and he talks about him liking arm wrestling because it's a solo sport.
Yeah.
It's him. He gets the win. It's his fault. Whatever. I mean, I'm probably butchering the summary on that, right? But that's really what it comes down to. It comes down to you. It's your training. There's no offensive lineman that missed a block and the team loses the game, or someone gets an interception. It's all you.
Yeah.
It's all you.
Yep. And even to that point, when it comes to getting better at this thing, it's on you too. And if you really truly want to walk around saying to people, I want to be the best, or even the best I can be, or whatever, then it's a responsibility to find your way of doing it so you can actually prove that right and not just keep talking about it.
Correct. I mean, there's always a way. I mean, even if you didn't have anyone to practice with, I'm pretty sure I could do stuff in the gym to get better at arm wrestling.
Well, yeah. I mean, look at someone like Richard Lupke's, who doesn't have any training partners. He did okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but you got to be willing to do it.
Right.
You be self-motivated.
Yep, and the idea of all this stuff is very romantic. It feels like the idea of, I'm going to work hard all the time, and they're going to raise my hand at the end of the day.
Yep, and I'm going to go win the 18-wheeler and get my son back and all this other stuff.
Yep. That sweet pulley system in the truck.
Yeah.
That's all it
Yeah.
takes.
Yeah.
But it all sounds great, and it all sounds very exciting. And then, really when it comes down to it, it's a lot of work, and it's oftentimes a lot of boring hard work.
Yeah, and then you send Herman Stevens a message on Facebook, and he says that he's training 3 times a day, and it sucks. And then you're like, oh crap, I don't want to do that. That's kind of what you have to do. I mean, I think most of us are training like that.
Yeah.
I think most of the top guys are training, if not that frequently, similar amounts of time.
Mm-hmm.
A couple hours a day probably.
Yeah, for sure. I
I
think
mean, look, Devin took a year off and just trained all day.
Yep. He talked about it on the show. He said it was a very eye-opening experience for him.
I know, I'm jealous. I want to take a year off and just train all day.
No shit, right? Oh my god. That'd be awesome. Yeah, for guys who would take advantage of that, that's crazy. And Devin, is one of those guys. That guy is, that dude is no shortage of training on that guy. I think he's a pretty good example as far as I think everybody can step it up a bit, even if you don't think you can. And step into that. I don't think this is gonna work out. Just dip your toes in that shit and just see that it certainly ain't gonna kill you. You'll definitely recover, and you'll probably learn something out of it, which is probably that you're a little more durable than you thought you were.
Yeah.
Well, Herman, it's been a lot of fun talking to you. It took about an hour of your time up. How's your neck feel?
Oh, yeah, it's probably time for a massage.
All right, my friend. Well, I'll be in contact, and best of luck with your training. And I want to see a damn good match out of you and Todd, and I think I will.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. I mean, win or lose, I hope that they're close. I hope it's entertaining. Like I said, either way, I'm going to come out a winner in a sense, right? I'm going to learn exactly where I am in the world, right? Maybe I'll get blown out. I might be a complete scrub. Maybe I find I'm on Todd's level. Maybe I find I'm above Todd's level. Either way, like I said, I'm excited. I can't really say anything bad about Todd, so that's kind of unfortunate. Maybe I wish he needs to say some mean things to me or something.
Okay, Todd, get on that. Say some mean stuff about Herman.
Fired up.
Yeah. Well, I definitely I don't believe for a second that it's going to be a blowout. I think it'll be very entertaining, and I think you guys are going to get to showcase some of the stuff that you've been working really hard for. So I look forward to it for sure. But until then.
All right, John. Later, man.
See you, buddy.